Greetings, family. Sister Shanice here. Thank you so much for tuning in. We have a really interesting topic for conversation today. But before we go into the topic, please do subscribe to the channel if you are not already a subscriber. And the topic for conversation today is Jamaica's plans to remove the king as head of state. Now, it's been widely reported in the media and in Forbes as well that Andrew Holness, who is the Prime Minister of Jamaica, has actually instructed his ministers and his nation to move ahead with speed in abolishing the country's constitutional monarchy. This is intended to be a final move in erasing the island's nation's formal connection to Britain, and in so doing, removing its connection to King Charles as head of state by 2025, along with colonialism, neo-colonialism, and all of the racialized past that comes with having the king as head of state. Well, to discuss this move today, we have joining us in the studio, Mr. Joseph Patterson, who is the founder of the United Independent Congress of Jamaica, the UIC party, which is the third largest political party in Jamaica. And this party is intending to liberate Jamaica and Jamaicans from the destructive system, as they put it, as partisan politics and bad governance. Let's welcome into the studio Mr. Joseph Patterson. Welcome, Mr. Patterson. Now, I'm sure you're very aware of the move to remove King Charles as the head of state. What are your views about abolishing the British monarchy? Do you agree or do you disagree with Andrew Holness's proposed move, and why?
Okay, so first of all, the UIC has long held the position that we need to remove the monarchy as head of state of Jamaica, but not just remove the monarchy, we must also remove the colonial system from Jamaica. So what the Prime Minister and his team is proposing to do is to simply change the name of Governor General, the President, and maintain the system of colonialism in Jamaica. So the colonial system will stay, but they will put some window dressing on, so we no longer have the monarchy as explicitly being our head of state. Now that's like putting lipstick on a pig. It's still a pig. You haven't changed anything substantively. And so what the UIC wants is substantive change so that we have good governance. The Jamaican people are not here jumping up and down to simply remove the head of state. They want to do that, but that's not the main issue for us here. The main issue for us is good versus bad governance. Bad governance means high levels of corruption. It means our tax dollars going away from healthcare and education and infrastructure into the pockets of a few. We're more interested in fixing bad governance than simply having the emotional and ceremonial changes to our constitution to say we're no longer under the British. The fact of the matter is, you can be a fake republic, not have the king as your monarch, but you still have the king's system of colonialism, divide and conquer, and corruption fully operational in the country. We want to have substantive changes, not figurative or window dressing, lipstick on a pig kind of changes.
Well, thank you so much for clarifying the position. So let me just check. They're still proposing to keep the Governor General and to have him have the final say and have decisions about how the country is run and give him the title of president.
Okay, so what they're doing right now, the Governor General has what is called a ceremonial position. So the Governor General does not exercise executive powers on a day-to-day basis. The Governor General has what is called reserved powers. So at certain points, if something should go contrary to the colonial system, he can step in to make sure it goes back to the colonial system. Other than that, the Prime Minister is the one that has the regular day-to-day executive authority. Now, what we're saying is The government simply taking the phrase of Governor General in the Constitution and changing that to the word president doesn't do anything.
No.
And so it will still be the same colonial system. So the economy will not change. Our healthcare will not change. Our education will not change. Our poor quality of life will not change. The corrupt enterprise will not change. All that will change is that we will now say we're no longer under the king, and the prime minister will get the political mileage out of that, because persons who are not deep thinkers, who are not paying attention, will say, wow, so we're no longer under the king, yay, and we'll be clapping and cheering. Just like, Sister Shanice, all the other fake changes. You might recall in 1838, they gave us freedom from slavery. They said the slaves are now free. But that was a fake freedom. Why do I say it's a fake freedom? Because when they freed the slaves, they did not return to them the land that was stolen from them, nor did they give them back the capital that was stolen via their labor. So the slaves were only free to go and beg a job from the colonial powers that were still in charge. So the plantocracy, those who had stolen the land and stolen the labor, they were still there and they owned everything. And the freed slaves were now free to starve to death or go and beg a job from their former slave masters, and now move from being a chattel slave to a wage slave. So that was a fake freedom. 106 years later, from 1838 to 1944, because the freed slaves started agitating and they burnt down a few plantations and did some serious damage to the slave economy, the slave masters then agreed, or the colonial masters then agreed, let's give them the right to vote. So let's placate them. Let's fool them again. So now they gave us what was called self-governance, which is the right to vote between two parties that they created and gave to us. And so now we were excited again. Yay, we got the right to vote now. But that was also a fake democracy, because the monarchy appointed a governor over the system, and the governor, from which we later got Governor General, the governor was able to, if the elected person didn't behave properly, the governor could slap them and say, no, you won't do that. Here's what you're going to do. So that was a fake democracy in 1944. But what they achieved in 1944 was very important. They got us now to stop seeing the colonial master as the enemy. And because we're now made into partisan tribes, we started fighting each other for scarce benefits and spoils. We started fighting each other for access to corruption. Whichever party wins get access to a bit of power, access to our tax dollars, access to borrow money in our name. And by virtue of that, we're able now to shift the focus from fighting for freedom, from fighting for liberty, from fighting for real grassroots economic development, to now fighting each other. That was the trick in 1944. Now, when they saw for 18 years that trick worked out very well, and we were still agitating now because we saw the governor and said, well, wait a minute, there's a governor there. So the people were burning down a few more plantations again. So this time they gave us another trick, which was a fake independence. So they said, now you're independent. But what did they do? They wrote the Constitution for us, the colonial masters. It wasn't we didn't write our own Constitution. We did not look at what we needed and build something. We had some fake leaders who went to London, get a fake constitution, and come back and give it to us and tell us that we're independent, and brought the Queen's representative over and spread out a red carpet for them, clap and cheered, and say, this is wonderful, and hoist the Jamaica flag and pull down the British flag. But guess what? They kept the monarchy in place as our head of state. So even though she was the queen of slavery, the Queen of Slavery was our head of state, and her system of constitution was imposed upon us, so nothing really changed. So a fake freedom, a fake democracy, and a fake independence, and now they want to give us a fake republic.
You know, there's a lot that we need to take away from this so that we're not continue to be fooled in the future. So when we talk about, you know, removing the entire system of colonialism and neo-colonialism, you said there, it's the education system, the healthcare system, the political system, etc., all needs to be changed. And do you have a vision of what that change might look like and what the results of that change is likely to bring about for Jamaica and the people of Jamaica?
Absolutely. So the UIC has developed a full system that we call a non-partisan constitutional republic. So to begin with, we need to understand what a republic is. So a republic, a true republic, is not what they've led us to believe. They want us to believe that a republic is simply replacing the monarchy with a president. That's not a republic. And so the world is filled with fake republics like Barbados, Trinidad, Guyana. China is a fake republic. The USA is a fake republic. What is a true republic? A true republic is a nation with a constitution that unequivocally protects the sovereignty of every individual. Why is that so important? When you have a constitution that protects the sovereignty of every individual, it means you protect them from both legal and illegal criminals, from both the government and from those outside of government. So you want a country that protects you from politicians being able to do with you as they please. So for example, if Jamaica was a real republic, the prime minister could not have attempted to impose a foreign injection or local injection on us during the last pandemic. It would be, no, they could not have taken away your right to freedom of speech when they tried to shut down those who had a different viewpoint. They could not take away your right to freedom of movement. They could not take away your right to freedom of association. And they could not take away your right to freedom of choice. So in a true republic, those rights are so enshrined that no politician, no government, and no scenario can be allowed to be justification for removing your right to your life, your liberty, and to your property. That's the foundation. Beyond that now, you want the system to have proper checks and balances so that corruption is eliminated. So the UIC system of a non-partisan constitutional republic ensures that the executive branch is fully separate from the Senate and fully separate from the House so that they can hold each other accountable and that our tax dollars are protected from theft and that they go into the right direction to ensure quality, affordable housing, quality education, quality nutrition for our children, quality health care, quality roads for internal transportation, and a system of governance overall that ensures we enjoy a safe, clean, and orderly society where everyone can live, earn, and retire with dignity.
Certainly sounds like a model that needs to be replicated across the Caribbean and across Africa. We've seen since these fake independence in the 1960s that very little has changed for those countries that won their independence. Very little has changed for the people of those countries. This partisan so-called democracy doesn't work for the Caribbean, and it doesn't work for Africa, and it certainly doesn't work for the people. So a new model such as that you've outlined there is definitely what's needed for the Caribbean and Africa as well. We applaud you for the work that you've put into, you and your team have put into actually designing this model. And as you pointed out in the earlier part of this interview, there were occasions where the people of Jamaica actually got so fed up that they started protesting, and in those instances started burning down a few plantations. Well, we had them protesting again quite recently. Prince William and Kate, the Duchess of Cambridge, they actually visited Jamaica last year. And we noticed that the Jamaicans came out and they protested, and they were demanding reparations for enslavement. You know, what's your party's position on the demands for reparations, please?
Absolutely. We fully agree with and support the push for reparation. And we believe that the colonial powers should be held to account for all that they have done to the peoples of the world in various forms. But the UIC also takes a very pragmatic approach to this. It is one thing for politicians to declare that they stand for reparation, which the two colonial parties in Jamaica have done. They both said to the world and to Jamaicans, we want reparation, but they are not being honest. If they believed in reparation, they would have given the people of Jamaica land reparation. But both parties who have been in office now since 1944 until today, almost 80 years, 8 decades, they have withheld from the Jamaican people the land which the colonial powers had stolen from the people. These two parties, have kept on to those land and not have land reparation by giving the land free of charge back to the people. So that's what makes the UIC different. We are going to do what we can do, not wait on foreigners, not wait on the colonial powers. We're going to do what we can do locally by returning the land to the people. That means a very effective land reform policy that says every Jamaican whose parents and grandparents or great-grandparents or whatever were impacted by slavery, those lands belong to you, and we're going to do an organized way of returning that land to you so that there shall be no landless Jamaican. Every Jamaican must be a property owner. Property ownership is the foundation of freedom. If you are free, but you have no property, you're not truly free. You must have an asset base. And so we have to reverse the cycle of intergenerational wealth, which has been built up in a few Jamaicans who have had access to land and who have had connections and gotten land and who were benefiting from their parents or who were benefiting from slavery. We have to change that narrative and give the people back the land. They cannot be made slaves twice. Their parents or grandparents or ancestors were slaves, and now they're being forced to slave at low wages to try to buy back the land that was stolen from their ancestors. That is wrong. That is wrong. Let's have, if we believe in reparation, let's not just talk about it. Let's do something about it. And these two parties had the power for 80 years to do something about it, and they have not. We, the UIC, will return the land to the people. We will begin the process of reparation and then make claims to the foreign powers for them to also join us and give the people what is rightfully theirs, their land and the capital stolen via their labor.
We thank you for outlining your policies. And I really like, the strand and the approach on reparations about, the political party ought to be doing what it can do first of all, first and foremost, rather than waiting on others for reparatory justice. And again, another fantastic model and proposal that can be replicated across the Caribbean region and Africa as well. We want to thank you so much for joining us today. I'm going to leave it there with the interview. It's been a pleasure and an honor, and I certainly look forward to you being elected as president at some point in the near future in Jamaica so that you're in a position to implement these policies. Thank you again.
Thank you so much, and have a good day and all the best to your viewers.
Thank you.